what can you tell us about your role playing Harry Anslinger?
Now, what can I tell you about my role? Harry Anslinger was the director of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. That it was a bureau he formulated after he had worked on the prohibition, and that had failed. Um, um, Coincidentally, his wife's uncle was a man named Andrew Mellon, who was United States Secretary of Treasury, who granted him $100,000 to formulate this bureau, which Harry wanted to really make an impact and put his stamp on on the war on drugs after they failed with alcohol. Wanted to become sort of a world-renowned czar on the war on drugs, and he maliciously used Billie Holiday as an example, uh, in such a harsh manner of what not to do, how not to cross them, by simply because she was an addict. Because the lyrics of her song "Strange Fruit" was a civil rights movement song where the lyrics represented the act of lynching, anti-lynching. Um, he thought the lyrics rubbed people the wrong way, and he wanted none of it. And so yeah, he was very sort of greedy, malicious, dark man. So yeah, I guess that in a nutshell.
How much did you know about the story of Billie Holiday and Strange Fruit before taking on the role?
I was so unaware. I did a film that was dealing with the Beat Generation and the 40s and 50s about 10 years ago, and I religiously listened to Billie Holiday for all the drives throughout the states up to Frisco, all the moments in the trailer and on set. I listened to her so much, but there was so much I was unaware of. I wasn't even aware of her struggles as an addict, and I most definitely wasn't aware of the malicious opposition that the government opposed upon her for being so, and for singing "Strange Fruit." I was also unaware of the message behind "Strange Fruit," the impact that it had as a civil rights movement song. That it was a song where the lyrics were anti-lynching and the acts thereof. And it's such a wonderful thing about not only what the script was, but what this film has become. It's such an educational experience. It most definitely was for me, and I'm sure it will be for anybody that watches it. And my greatest hope is that it's something that will stand the test of time, be shown in every classroom, history lesson, music lessons. And because Billie's voice was so silenced back then, and all of the restraints that were applied upon her, that you know I think this is a way that Lee has granted her and her legacy a new voice for the new generation.
What initially attracted you to the script?
It was something, it was a role I hadn't done before. Lee was I met with Lee before the script was finished. He handed me over a stack of material on Harry Anslinger, and I was more just I was um confused and curious of why he saw me to play this character. When I first saw a photo of Anslinger, he kind of looked like a young Al Capone, and older pictures of him looked like a Hitchcock. And he just said, "Look, we're going to flip the switch on this one," and that's kind of yeah, that's all you got to say to get me to be on board, no matter what, you know. And because he was basing it after Chasing the Scream, Johann Nari's incredible book, which is not only about addiction but really dove into the like I said, the malicious opposition of the government upon Billy, It was so in depth, so true, and this side of Billie Holiday that so many like myself are unaware of. It was um, um, you know, saying I was excited to be a part of it is such an understatement. It felt like something that had to be done.
How did you prepare yourself for the role in the 1940s setting?
Well, look, I love that era more than anything. I think I romanticize specifically about the 40s more than any other time. Um, um, the, it was a lot of looking at the history books, doing the research on Anslinger, his upbringing, where he came from. And I'd realized that he always has kind of a sort of always had a kind of sinister ulterior motive to what got him to where he was in the first place. Before that, he worked on the rail yard and in Philadelphia, and had found some $50,000 like insurance scam or something that was fraudulent, which got him um, promoted to director, and then he was working for the Prohibition as like the commissioner's assistant, which then the Prohibition failed, so he sort of had his tail between his legs. But then he sort of married up, to the niece of the United States Secretary of Treasury, and he kind of had this yearning and hungry passion to be a man of a certain form of stature, and it was within this that you got to sort of see how he withheld himself, the grudges that he'd had, how he would formulate or reformulate his opinions of certain things such as drugs and alcohol according to what position he was holding. um, which in a lot of the articles that I read, before he became the director of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, he thought marijuana was nothing harmful whatsoever, and then he interviewed the 30 doctors, 29 said it was harmless, and one said it was the devil's drug, and then through mass media he ran out, through the press that you know he completely changed his views and continued to do so. And this was just the beginning for him. He ended up working through Truman, Hoover, Eisenhower, and Kennedy, and withholding this position.
What were some of your favorite aspects of the film?
For me, I'm one of those that I always like to see the grit, the hard stuff, the dark stuff, the trials and tribulations of an artist, with a voice, with a message, striving to get it out, and how they deal with themselves and others or the public, within their isolation. It's a very sort of psychological sort of kind of craving that I like to see. So, a lot of the wonderful moments of Andra and how she portrayed Billie Holiday in this so wonderfully is, her moments of struggle. My heart melts for her. Um, it's and it's the pain of seeing her always trying to rise up and overcome, and to kick the drugs, to have her voice, to sing the songs she wants to sing, and then once again, they strip her of her cabaret card, and the U.S. government, which is being revealed in this, had basically put so many restraints on her that if she were to open her mouth and utter air, she would be arrested. So I'm honored. I'm excited for everybody to get to see this side of Billy. Like I said, I think it's such a blessing that Lee came along and wanted to share this story, because for Billy's legacy to get to have a voice is a very special thing for this generation.
What did you take from the film personally and as an actor? Or how did the film resonate with you after you have seen it and have seen yourself in it?
I it's just I think it's like I said, it's one for, the history classes and the music classes around the world. Um, and that was, I think, what Lee was so eager to show, what I was honored to be a part of. Look, I'm such a jazz fan at the end of the day anyway. For times in my life to, speaking of, say, even her song Solitude, for me, in moments of solitude, isolation, um, journeys and travels and the joys and vicissitudes kind of across the globe, I was always sitting back listening to Billie, Lester Young, Dexter Gordon, Bop and Bud. Like, I cherish it all, and so to be a part of, to be playing in the jazz field is, I'll do it as many times as John Wayne was a cowboy.
And can we know what's next for you?
There's we got this, yeah, there's some wonderful things coming up. Um, and we'll see. Things are trying to find a time and space on the calendar and geographically to be able to go under COVID. But um, um, for right now, you know, we're chatting about old Billie Holiday.
Thank you so much
Um,
for taking the time out to speak with us. It was a
uh,
pleasure.
Likewise.